you think your full-time job is fully secure? Take a look around.
Subcontractors to contractors to freelance workers to temp workers to part-time workers.
Are you next in line for a no vacation, no raise, no frills job?
Most of them without benefits, most of them at lower pay, most of them unable to support a family.
That is a form of exploitation.
500,000 Bay Staters already suffer the down benefiting blues. In search of the silver linings.
I take advantage of the flexibility,
Part-time perks, and part-time work paying full-time dividends.
Disability insurance, dental insurance, health insurance, and a 401k plan.
Mike's market force mistake.
I was young and stupid.
The problems of part-time. Next on Chronicle.
It's very insecure. You realize right away that you are dispensable. There aren't any benefits. There aren't any paid holidays. Your job could be gone at any moment.
Meet Ellen Smith, temp worker and single parent. Although she puts in 40 hours a week, she's among the millions of American workers the government considers part-time or contingent. In her case, because her job is not permanent. There are no benefits, no raises, and as she found out, no room for a family crisis.
I was in a special situation where I needed to work 4 days a week, and I was agreed to work 10 hours a day, which was 40 hours a week, for a short period of time due to some family illness situation. My fiance had a heart attack, my child was ill, so they agreed to let me do that. And once I put it in writing that they had agreed to let me do this, they let me go that day. Told me my services were no longer needed.
Susan Egan knows how that feels. She used to work full-time at Woolworths. A year ago, she and 8 other women were let go and replaced with part-time workers. Now, for the first time in her life, Susan herself is working part-time as a home health aide, a job she hopes will become permanent. Susan, when you were working full-time here, you had full benefits and so forth.
Yes, I did.
Do you know that the part-timers now, do they have any of those things?
No, they don't. They do not have any benefits at all. And there's no such thing as job security now. Any job. Greed, corporate greed is all I can think of.
Greed, for lack of a better word, is good.
Remember the 80s? Well, as the market chilled, companies began to cut costs by downsizing, as they called it. Workers just called them layoffs. The thing is, you can downsize just so far.
The big trend is down waging and down benefiting. They need workers. They're now down to the bare bones, but they don't want to pay as much for them as they paid before. Therefore, they go to subcontractors, to contractors, to freelance workers, to temp workers, to part-time workers. They do everything they can do, again, to keep those benefits down and keep those wages low.
Currently in Massachusetts, about 20% of the labor force, or just over 500,000 people, work some form of part-time or contingent job. And with few legal protections, the quality of the part-time work usually depends on who you work for.
I spend all day with my daughter, and they make the flexibility where I can come in at 4 and work till 8:30 or 9:30.
For single mom Sheila Landers, part-time work at Starbucks is no grind.
I take advantage of the flexibility. I take advantage of the benefits, the health benefits for my daughter and I, which are very important.
I work for a company for 4 or 5 days. I work for a company for 2 weeks. I work for companies for 1 day only, which is really part-time and very quick.
Fran Neville enjoys the freedom and variety of temp work. It helps that her agency, Cambridge-based Mac Temps, offers its temps a wide range of benefits.
People will say, well, would you like to come to work for us permanently? And the answer is, no, well, we have offer benefits. I don't care, I already get benefits.
Most part-time workers want part-time work. They want it because there's something in their lives that makes them need some flexibility.
While it's true that 4 out of 5 part-time workers choose to work part-time, most have little choice but to do without what full-time workers take for granted: health insurance, guaranteed hours, even sick days. So for many, part-time work is a full-time worry.
I was working for a large national agency. I qualified for health insurance by working 110 hours a month for 3 consecutive months.
Jim is a longtime temp worker. He preferred not to be identified.
At one point, I needed to have surgery. I called the agency to inform them I'd be out approximately a week. They said they couldn't hold my job. So by using the benefits, I lost them.
For Jim and others like him, being flexible means being vulnerable.
The human element seems to be out of the picture. We fall between the cracks.
If employers take advantage of that and create a second class of jobs, take away the benefits, take away any guarantees in terms of hours, and in many cases pay a lower salary as well, to me that is a form of exploitation and abuse.
A lack of both benefits and job security are only two of the problems that often face part-time workers. Wage discrimination is another. For example, at some airlines, a full-time ticket reservationist may make as much as $17 an hour. In some cases, a part-timer doing the same job makes $7.
Part-time workers on the average earn about 40% less than full-time workers on an hourly basis. If people choose to work part-time, that's fine, but if you pay a penalty, that's a problem.
The entire workforce in the United States is becoming a two-tiered workforce. The average American with a good full-time job ought to be a little bit concerned because he or she looks around and says, wait a minute, more and more of the jobs around me are turning into part-time or contract or freelance or temp. Maybe that will be me.
And it turns out a lot of the part-time workers are women.
That's right. They're disproportionately represented, Mary, in the part-time workforce. One interesting statistic here, of the women surveyed who work part-time, 35% said they would be interested in working full-time if there were more child care and it was affordable. So there's some interest there in working more hours if they were able to.
When we come back, should Beacon Hill step in to help the part-timers?
And part-time jobs that pay off full-time. We'll be right back.
You're watching Chronicle with Peter Mahegan, Mary Richardson, Liz Bruner, Ted Reinstein, and Mike Barnacle. Chronicle, New England's nightly news magazine.
Coming up later, Barnacle on benefits. And next, laying down the law.
Here on Beacon Hill, legislation is now pending that would extend unprecedented rights and benefits to part-time workers.
Does part-time equal second class? Not always. Some bosses provide their part-time workers with the same level of benefits the full-timers get. Ted Reinstein looks at a few of those firms in just a minute.
But first, the rest of the bosses in the Bay State ought to have their eyes focused on Beacon Hill. It won't be business as usual if a couple of state legislators have their way. Here's Ted with more.
It's an issue which really hits home. That was the reason people responded to the UPS strike in the way they did. It was about, you know, there but for fortune, I go.
So
right.
In that sense, that's
right.
I think we need to tell people.
Tim Costello wants to see more public response on the issue of part-time work. From this cramped Cambridge office, he directs the Campaign on Contingent Work, a coalition of labor and community organizations that advocates a better deal for part-time workers.
There's no expectation, or very little expectation, of any long-term employment anymore amongst whole sectors of the workforce. That's very troubling.
The campaign's primary effort is to see new laws passed to protect part-time workers.
Government's always been involved in regulating labor markets, always. We have minimum wage laws, we have fair labor standards and anti-discrimination laws and so forth. Government has to intervene here as well.
And government, at least on the state level, may intervene. Here on Beacon Hill, legislation is now pending that would extend unprecedented rights and benefits to part-time workers.
It's the last resort to come to the legislature and try to get some type of equity in the workplace, but here we are.
Senator Stephen Lynch and Representative Pat Jalen, both Democrats, are the co-sponsors of the contingent work bill.
It's real simple, equal pay for equal work.
The bill also calls for prorated benefits for part-time workers.
What about in terms of things like maternity leave? Does the bill address that?
Yes, we do have a maternity leave section there, so that if half of the maternity leave benefits that would be available to a full-time worker are proportionally available to a contingent worker, a part-time worker.
I think it is a fairness issue that in the past we've drawn the line and said you can't discriminate on the basis of race and sex. You know, you can't use child labor, and this is another case where I think we want to say, we want to draw the line and say part-time and temporary workers should have equal treatment if they're performing equal work. So I think this is good legislation.
Robert Reich agrees.
It's a matter of simply leveling the playing field and making sure there are not extra incentives for employers to push people off of full-time work.
But many business leaders question the need for more legislation in the workplace.
Is it necessary? No, we don't believe it's necessary. In fact, we think actually long-term it could be very harmful to the economy in Massachusetts and to folks who are trying to enter the workforce for the first time. The law would bar employers from making distinctions between part-time and full-time employees regarding benefits or salaries. And what that really does, it limits the employer's flexibility to make hiring decisions.
I think businesses, and many businesses, do need a lot of flexibility. And I think what we're proposing doesn't in any way stop that flexibility. What it says is, if you want to have flexibility, have it. But you just have to pay people equal wages for equal work.
This has never been implemented anywhere else that I'm aware of, and it would just make Massachusetts that much more different from the 49 other states.
There are some companies, though, that are different from others and have adopted progressive part-time policies on their own.
Starting with the hourly rate, there is no distinction between a full-time or a part-time. From a benefits perspective, we offer the same benefit package to all hourly partners that average 20 hours a week or more.
And does Riley believe the state ought to mandate rights for part-time workers?
I think that there are obviously many companies out there that will not do it on their own, and if they would have done it by now.
But Starbucks is not alone. MacTemps, a Cambridge-based worldwide temp agency, has earned a national reputation for its progressive policies toward part-time workers.
What we offer is vacation pay, holiday pay, disability insurance, dental insurance, health insurance, and a 401k plan. By offering benefits, it's really a win-win-win situation. We win because we attract and retain the very best people. Our temps win because they get benefits, and our clients win because they get high skills and very loyal temps. Everyone wanted to know how we could possibly make money offering benefits. In fact, one of our trade associations even sent in an analyst consultant to kind of figure out how we can offer, how we could possibly offer benefits. But see, we're in the people business, and we found that by giving people benefits, it's really an investment in our people. From an economic standpoint, you make money with benefits, not the reverse.
But Schwang's position on mandates might surprise.
Well, I really feel that we don't really need legislation. What I'd almost prefer is that the free market kind of battle it out.
The free market needs government to set a floor. If business could handle this problem by itself, we wouldn't have the situation with more and more people, 25% of the workforce in contingent jobs, most of them without benefits, most of them at lower pay, most of them unable to support a family.
Behind all this is a much larger question, and that is the nature of a company. The best companies in America understand that if they value their employees as assets to be developed, rather than as costs to be cut, if they create genuine communities, over the long term, they can do much better.
Well, no easy victory for Steve Lynch's bill and Representative Jalen, Mary.
Don't look for any quick, easy victory on this one. This would be a hard-fought issue, certainly, Peter. AIM, the Associated Industries of Massachusetts, is vehemently opposed to any such legislation. It's believed there will be a full-scale study sometime in this legislative year. At the very least, they'll study the issue. But as far as passing any legislation, it'll be a
And
time.
a study in legislative terms usually means the deep six graveyard.
See you later.
We shall see.